You just set a land speed record for a secretary getting through their statement. We thank you. Madam Secretary, tax dodging in America has many faces, whether it's a crooked Swiss banker hiding American income, a billionaire deducting the personal use of private jets and super yachts, or the nearly 1,000 millionaires who somehow got away without even filing a tax return until the IRS really began to crack down. We have seen these tax dodges in a whole assortment of different strategies. The biggest loophole, as I indicated, is buy, borrow, and die. Buy, borrow, and die is a glide path for billionaires to pay little or nothing, as I said, for years on end. Can you explain, Madam Secretary, why it's so important for billionaires to start paying taxes on this income? Because that's what it is.
I agree with you. Under current law, some of the wealthiest Americans pay very little tax because they receive their income as capital gains, and those capital gains aren't taxed until realized and may escape income taxation entirely at death. So the president's budget would impose a minimum tax of 25% on total income, inclusive of unrealized capital gains. It would apply to the wealthiest 0.01% of taxpayers with more than $100 million in wealth. And the proposal would put an end to the situation that exists today, in which wealthy households, as you noted, borrow against their wealth. They use that borrowed wealth to finance a lavish lifestyle, while at the same time reporting that their wealth generates little or no income for tax purposes. Your proposal for a billionaire's income tax would address the same root problem using a slightly different approach, marking to market the value of publicly traded assets every year and imposing a deferral charge on other assets. And both the president's proposed approach, like yours, would really put an end to the problem of wealthy taxpayers with large investment gains reporting little income for tax purposes and often escaping any taxation at death.
I remember the announcement. The president apparently was surprised one day when they said, "What do you think of Ron Wyden's proposal?" He said, "I like Ron Wyden's proposal." And then I was surprised a few weeks later because the president, and I appreciate it, looked at some of our concepts. So we've got a good strategy. Let's go next to the employee retention, tax credit, which has been riddled by fraud. Chairman Smith and I both have said, we've got 95% of the claims coming in essentially tainted by fraud. If the Congress doesn't cut off these employee retention claims by passing this bipartisan legislation, would you expect fraudulent claims to continue to flood the Internal Revenue Service?
Well, I would. The administration has serious concerns about improper ERC claims. We have seen claims made by entities that did not exist or did not have employees during the period of eligibility. Right now, the IRS is actively auditing and conducting criminal investigations that are related to the false ERC claims. And the legislation that you've proposed, I believe the administration believes makes critical investments in America to grow our economy, to lower costs for families. It advances bipartisan priorities like increasing the supply of housing, helping parents provide for their children, and supporting American innovation by investing in research and development. And I think it's a tremendous positive that the bill pays for these key investments by really protecting honest small business owners and ending a pandemic era program that is just now a magnet.
Let me get my last question in under the gun. So this committee, in effect, started breaking 50 years worth of gridlock on climate change. For 50 years, there hadn't been anything on carbon taxes, there hadn't been anything on cap and trade. And in late spring of 2021, we came together around a private sector approach without mandates. It rewarded reducing carbon emissions, and particularly, it was technologically neutral, which authorities said was right at the heart of what we ought to do to have a kind of system. Can you commit that the Treasury Department is going to issue the proposed rules for these technology-neutral incentives by June?
Well, what I will commit is it is a very high priority item for us. We're working hard on it. I can't give you a precise date. We're working, all of these tax rules involve collaboration with the Department of Energy and EPA, but these are at the top of our priority list. We want to get it out soon, and these will be important successors to the production tax credit and investment tax credit that have been driving explosive growth in the wind and solar industry.
Senator Crapo.
Thank you, Secretary.